Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2024 Forest River Salem travel trailer, and we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the Blue Ox TrackPro weight distribution setup. This is what our setup is going to look like before weight distribution, and you can see they're just towing it with a normal ball mount. This is a single axle trailer, so that's where we're getting a lot of our sway from. But another factor that you have to kind of take into effect is that we've got a lot of squat here in the back of the truck. So we've probably got a significant amount of tongue weight. What else is not helping us is that he has the biggest weather guard toolbox that they make in the back of this truck. So I'm sure this has quite a bit of weight in it too. So hopefully putting that weight distribution on is going to help with the sway and with the weight distribution so that our truck is not sagging so much. Now with the weight distribution, you can see that we were able to bring the back end of our truck up to where it's perfectly level. We are measuring from the ground to the top inside of this wheel well at 26.5 inches, and we are measuring the exact same on the front. So the front came up just a hair, maybe a quarter of an inch, and the back came up quite a bit. So that's really, really good to see out of this weight distribution setup. We've got plenty of weight on those bars. Our setup, our camper is riding perfectly level, and that's exactly what you want to see going down the road. With that amount of pressure on those bars, it's going to increase the amount of sway control because it is a friction sway control setup. So we're really sitting much nicer than we were before. Adding the Blue Ox TrackPro weight distribution setup to your rig is going to help you to get some more of the weight off of your truck suspension, especially with the newer Rams with the coil suspension in the back. They have a very, very weak suspension because they're more so designed for comfort when you're just driving unloaded. So whenever you're towing a heavy trailer like we have here on our travel trailer, that is when it's really, really gonna weigh it down. And I can tell you just from driving around a little bit in the parking lot with this setup, before he was just towing with a regular ball mount, the weight distribution and the sway control is both going to be greatly appreciated by the end user when pulling it with this truck. This kit is going to be designed for trailers with a tongue weight rating of 600 to 800 pounds. We're running about 700, 750 on our tongue weight here. That is going to be a sweet spot. You want to try to find a kit that's going to match the weight rating of your tongue weight, or the tongue weight amount. So that's another good point to make, is that when you're picking out a kit, it's not necessarily just based off of the GVWR of your trailer. You can get a pretty good idea from that, but you really need to take your trailer to maybe a CAT scale or a weigh station, weigh your camper. A lot of them you can disconnect the truck from the camper and they can actually tell you how much weight is on this foot. That would be your tongue weight. However much weight is on this jack foot right here is the amount that you're going to want to compare to the kits, because there are many different sizes. We have these spring bars rated up from 600 all the way up to, on some kits, up to 1,200 pounds. So you want to make sure that you're getting the right kit. With this particular setup for weight distribution, more does not mean more. It does not mean that it's going to work better if you get stronger bars. You want to get a certain amount of bend out of these bars so that it puts the right amount of friction on here. If you're not getting any bend out of these bars, you're not going to get the right amount of friction sway control on these little L brackets that you would if you had the right kit. This kit's going to have a max trailer weight capacity of 8,000 pounds, so your trailer can weigh up to 8,000 pounds. That's perfect for our trailer because fully loaded, we're looking at about 5,500 to 6,000 pounds once it's fully loaded. So that works out really, really good for us. That means that they have got more than enough here. They're definitely within that weight capacity, or the weight range of their tongue weight capacity. The other thing I like about this particular kit, which I think is the most annoying to have to set up and have to adjust, stuff like that, is that they already have the head height pitch built into this bracket. A lot of times you'll see, if you've had an old setup or you have friends that have a weight distribution setup, you have to add and subtract washers in here to be able to get this ball to pitch correctly. Well, they've got it engineered in here. The pitch height will always, or the pitch will always stay the same, and all you have to do is move this ball mount up and down in order to get your camper to be level. The ball is going to be pre-mounted onto this ball mount, which may not seem like a huge benefit, but it is a huge, huge deal. And the reason I say that is because the shank size on this ball is going to be massive. It's like a 1.25 inch shank, which has an extremely high torque setting, and you have to have a really, really long and tall socket to be able to fit up behind it or underneath it to be able to torque that down. And 9 times out of 10, people aren't going to have that kind of torque wrench at their house, so it comes pre-installed, pre-torqued down, and I think it's a really cool feature. You will have to torque these nuts here down on the side, and they have a high torque rating too, but usually you can run by your local auto parts store to rent something to get these torqued down. One last note that I like to make before we jump into the installation is that this is going to be a very tough paint job. I like that it's a matte black. It matches this paint on the trailer perfectly. One thing that you will notice is that you'll see some paint chipping and stuff like this on these lower brackets. That is going to happen. That's going to happen with any type of kit that you get, because there is so much pressure on this bar to give you that sway control, because that's how, after all, that's how it works, is that this steel bar is dragging on this steel bracket, and that is causing friction, which causes the trailer to drag straight behind you. When that happens, I don't know of really a paint out there that can withstand that amount of pressure of steel on steel. And you definitely do not want to put any nylon pads or lubrication on here at all, because you'll lose some of that friction, and then there goes your sway control. Now, as far as the installation goes, this is going to be an entirely bolt-on installation. The brackets on the side of our frame rail here are going to bolt on, rather than you will not have to drill for them. A lot of people don't like drilling extra holes into their frames, and I totally get that. So let's go ahead and show you how to do it. To begin our installation, you're going to get your shank, put in the hitch of your vehicle. We're going to grab the hitch pin and throw that in to secure it. This hitch pin is going to come with your kit, which is really nice because a lot of accessories will not come with them. But they're just assuming that you don't have one since you're buying this whole kit anyway. Depending on your camper and truck setup of how high your truck is sitting and how high your coupler on your camper is, we may end up having to flip this over, but we really don't know until we start taking some measurements. So we'll take our bolts that come with our kit. We're going to slide this in. I'm going to get it to where I think it's close to the same height. We'll slide these in, and now we can take some measurements. Before you take your measurements, you want to level your camper from front to back. It's best if it's level from side to side too, but that's not absolutely necessary. What we did was, since our shop floor is sloped towards the garage door, like every garage floor, we took a measurement from the ground to the bottom side of our camper where the trim goes back, and made sure that that was the same as on the back. So we're at 26 inches from the ground to the bottom of our camper, all the way back. We know our camper is level, and we can start taking some measurements. We're going to measure from the ground to the top of our coupler here, and we are at 24.5 inches. When we measure from the ground to the top of this ball, you want to be at least within an inch, so or the ball can be an inch higher. So right now we're at 22.5. So I'm probably going to have to flip this over. I'll see how much I can get out of it by just taking these out and moving it up one hole. Yeah, that's at 23.5. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll take this back off, flip this shank over, and that'll give us more space to be able to go up. Now, there is going to be a note in your instructions. It's right below that step we just did that says if you are putting this on a Ram truck, you will want to, they recommend you put it 2 inches higher than the height of your coupler, and that's because the Ram trucks, they sag so much. So what we're going to do is we've got this set at 26, about 26.5, and our coupler height is still at 24.5. So this is the height we ended up going with. What we're going to do is we're going to take the nuts and the lock washers, throw them on the back sides of these bolts. And your instructions at this point are also going to say to tighten and torque these down. If we ever have to make any other adjustments to this, I would not recommend torquing these down because it's a very high torque rating. So this will be able to get us by to set everything else up, and then we can come back and torque those later. Next, we're going to be installing our side brackets that are going to hold the arms that will eventually hold the trunnion bars. You want to put a mark on your trailer at 20 inches from the center of our coupler, of where the center of the ball would be, or 20 inches back and 25 inches back. That is the space that you're allowed to put these two holes in. So this is the furthest back that we could go. This is the furthest forward we can go. So wherever it works best, the reason they give you that range is because they understand that there's stuff on the side of the trailer. For example, on the other side, we have a mount that holds our electric on the side. So we were able to put it basically as back as far as where we can get it. So what I'm going to do is you'll take this bracket. You'll notice that the orientation of this bracket has to be like this, with the slant towards the front. This bracket will line directly up behind it, and we can slide our bolts into place. So you hold it in place, put the top bolt in first. That holds it up. Then we'll take our other one, slide it. You want to put it in the closest set of holes that will fit under your trailer. So for example, you don't want to put it in this bottom one because it'll be too loose, the bracket can move. Then we'll follow each one of those up with a nylon lock nut. Now we're going to take a couple of wrenches. I've got a 19mm wrench here. You want to snug these down enough to where the brackets are grabbing on the frame, but not so tight that you can't move this anymore. We're going to do one final measurement to make sure both sides will be the same, and then we'll go ahead and tighten these down. We're going to have to hook our truck up to our trailer in order to accomplish. What you want to do before you do that is you want to get some before and after measurements. So the before measurements with the trailer unhooked from the truck, you want to measure from the ground to the top inside of our wheel well, and we've got those measurements already. And then you want to do the same thing to the front, because what we're really trying to do here is you're trying to dial in your camper with your truck so that your truck, you can bring some of that back into the truck back up. So you've got your measurements, now we're going to hook up our trailer. Now we can take our spring bars. You'll want the two notches facing up when you insert them into the weight distribution setup. Another little tip here, these notches are designed to tell you what weight rating you have. If you don't have your paperwork or you can't remember what tongue weight rating kit that you got, if you ever need to get new bars or what have you, the two notches means that it's an 800-pound tongue weight kit. One notch means that is a 600-pound, and it goes up like that. So if you get a 1,000-pound kit for the tongue weight, that's going to have 3 lines on it. So just to keep in mind, it's good for future reference. We'll slide it in here, and then we're going to take our pin and lock it in. You may have to rotate this from side to side or in or out a little bit. Latch that in. With our bars in place, we can take our side brackets that they're going to sit on, and this you may have to do a little adjusting, but we're going to take our bolts and just start with them in the top hole. Based off of the other kits I've installed, this looks like a pretty good distance from the bottom of our bar. Or from the top of our bar to the bottom of this plate. We should get enough flex out of that to be able to get some of that height back on our wheel wells. You can always move these. This is blue Loctite. It comes in your kit. You want to use this on these. Again, your instructions are going to say to torque these down. I'm going to make sure that it is getting us the results that we want first, and then I'll come back and torque them down. You want to take another set of measurements. We've got ours already. So we're going to put some more weight, or put the weight back onto the jack and not the truck. We're going to lift up. And a good judgment there is if you want to lift up, because we're currently lifting on the back of the truck right now, lift up a couple inches, test your bar, see how close it gets. So you can see we're getting a lot closer than we were earlier. I'm going to lift it even more yet. Then you want to take your spring bar loading tool. This little hook here is designed to go inside of this hole. We'll pull our spring bar out. The reason why we lift it up on the back of the truck with our jack was so that it takes some of this weight off. Otherwise, you have to bend that bar by yourself with this arm. So you pop that in place, and now we can put our keeper there. Throw our lock in place, and take your pin, slide it over. Now we'll raise our jack back up, putting the full weight of the camper on the truck and the spring bars. If that truck is not sitting how you like it, You'll just take this bracket right here and move it up one set of holes at a time to where you get the amount of pressure on these spring bars that you want. The way that our rig is sitting right now, I was able to bring the back of the truck up about a ½ inch. I'd like to see the back end get up a little bit higher, maybe another ½ inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it one hole on each side. We'll put it back on and see how we like it then. Once you've got everything set that the way that you want it and how it's working with the truck, we were able to gain back that other ½ inch I was looking for. So now we raised the whole back of the truck up an entire inch. Now the front gap between the wheel wells and the back gap between the wheel wells are both at the same amount. That's how I like to tow with weight distribution. Some manufacturers like to see the back end 3/4 of an inch higher than the front. And I personally don't think that that's a great way to tow, because now you've got so much weight pushing back onto the truck. You still need a little bit of drop so that you have enough tongue weight so it's not causing more sway. But other than that, all you got to do is come back here. We'll torque these 2 bolts down and torque these 2 bolts on each side. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the Blue Ox TrackPro weight distribution setup is right for you and your 2024 Forest River Salem.